Good afternoon. This is All About Bitcoin, a show dedicated to all things questions and markets related to Bitcoin, little b for the currency, and Bitcoin, big B for the network. A collective journey to understand, apply, and use this innovation, all Bitcoin, all the time. And I'm your host, Christine Lee, checking in on Bitcoin right now. The CoinDesk Bitcoin price XBX index is currently waiting in and out of $40,000. Bitcoin is up about 5.3% over the past 24 hours. The most reliable reference prices for institutions since 2014 are now published under the CoinDesk brand, trusted globally as the leader in crypto news, events, and data. All right, looking at our top stories, Bitcoin at one point hitting $42,000 earlier today, recovering nearly all of the ground lost during yesterday's 14% price plunge, the biggest single-day decline since March of 2020, when prices fell from about $43,000 to $30,000 intraday. Wednesday's spot market volume was one for the records, according to CoinMarketCap. Over 130 billion in Bitcoin changed hands, and Bitcoin's market dominance, a measure of its market cap relative to the total for all other cryptocurrencies, briefly fell below 40% for the first time since June of 2018. Meanwhile, Bitcoin mining pools that represent 94% of the network's hash rate are signaling support for the Taproot upgrade, though we may not know if the upgrade will be scheduled for November activation until the next difficulty period in 9 days. Taproot is a small upgrade of 2 lines of code that will improve privacy and allow smart contracts on Bitcoin. Finally, a new report from the U.S. Treasury Department is calling for businesses that receive transfers of $10,000 and above in crypto to report it to the IRS. The Treasury writing, quote, despite constituting a relatively small portion of business income today, cryptocurrency transactions are likely to rise in importance in the next decade, especially in the presence of a broad-based financial account reporting regime.
The chart of the day is brought to you by Crypto.com, the world's fastest growing crypto app.
And Bitcoin's sell-off in recent days may be a rude awakening for newcomers into the digital asset space, but it's hardly anything new. This chart from the Visual Capitalist shows Bitcoin's historical corrections from all-time highs. Bitcoin has tumbled more than 50% from mid-April's all-time high of almost $65,000 to nearly $30,000 yesterday. But Bitcoin has seen much greater falls, notably April 2013, when Bitcoin's price shaved off about 82% over the span of 2 days. The bear markets of 2013 and 2017 also saw Bitcoin decline over 80%. Government bans and exchange hacks have been catalysts for previous crashes, but this latest pullback is unique in the sense that it was triggered by a crypto influencer, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, and his concerns over the sustainability of the Bitcoin network. Other possible reasons include China's renewed warnings against trading cryptocurrencies, an over-leveraged market vulnerable to margin calls and capitulation or panic selling. And joining us now to discuss is Sino Global Capital, Manuel Bejarano in New York. Welcome, Manuel.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Yeah. So Bitcoin is a volatile creature, Manuel. When you look at BTC's historical corrections, where do you categorize this latest pullback from the all-time highs? Is it part of a greater bear market lasting a year or two, or just a temporary market correction?
Well, as far as a bull market correction, this one was pretty rough. At least compared to 2017, I don't think there were any 30-40% plus drawdowns. So for this to be an over 50% drawdown from the all-time high is pretty significant. Like, I think several people got caught off guard when they thought maybe the bottom was in at maybe 40 and 38,000, and they kept longing on leverage, and it turned out to actually end up going lower than that, which is really interesting. I wouldn't be so. I think there's like a tendency to try to ascribe a narrative to the events that happened maybe yesterday and the day before, right? Like there are a couple narratives going on. There could be the China regulations narrative. There's the Elon Musk tweeting narrative, and I think people. It's very easy to just blame it on one player or one entity. Whereas it's usually a lot more complicated than that. I think even at the institutional level, it's really hard to say who's on the other side of your trades, right? Like it could be an individual, it could be a corporation, it could be a government. You never know.
Manuel, you mentioned the confusion out there on, China's stance on Bitcoin. China has said things like Bitcoin isn't a currency, but it can be used for investment purposes. They banned crypto exchanges, but individuals can still hold cryptocurrencies. They repeated warnings against trading cryptocurrencies the other day. Do you think this confusion contributed to the sell-off, or not really?
Maybe a little bit. I think if you've been in the market for at least longer than a year or two, like, China bans Bitcoin once every couple of months. It's somewhat periodic, kind of, how the same narratives kind of reemerge. especially during bull cycles, or there can be a lot of.
What do you think caused this pullback then?
The most likely thing I would describe is that there were a lot of leverage positions open. There were a lot of leverage positions open at 45,000 and 40,000. And then when we dipped below 40,000, the leverage positions didn't go down. I mean, there were a lot of liquidations, sure. But you also saw a lot of people longing 38 and 40 on leverage. And I think the stats speak for themselves. There were 750,000 accounts liquidated the last 48, 72 hours. Almost $10 billion just disappeared in liquidations, right? So,
and how much do you think of that was retail based versus institutional based?
A decent amount of it was retail. I wonder whether, because institutions are pretty close knit, or pretty, like, not close knit, but like they're not gonna publicly reveal a really large drawdown usually. Like it just makes them look bad. It makes them look like bad traders. For the most part. Right? As
a representative of Sino Global Capital, what is your firm doing? Are they buying the dip, or what is the move, the strategic move from here?
Well, like what happened, and we had a team call today, right? And it was, like maybe yesterday it felt a little bit rough, but today it was just business as normal. Like we were just discussing different projects, different private rounds, right? And we were kind of discussing and assessing them, and there was even a decision made today to go into it.
All right, so just business as usual. All right, Manuel, thanks for joining us this afternoon. That was Manuel Bejarano of Sino Global Capital. Coming up, the Bitcoin sign guy who photobombed former Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen during a congressional hearing joins me next.
We are witnessing the greatest paradigm shift in finance in modern history. Join thousands of newsmakers and influencers talking the future of money in a live virtual experience. Consensus by CoinDesk. Register today.
My next guest is known as the Bitcoin sign guy. He made headlines as a 22-year-old holding up a buy Bitcoin sign behind then Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen in 2017. The photobomb became a widely circulated meme across social media, and Bitcoin sign guy, an inadvertent hero. Joining us now to discuss is the Bitcoin sign guy, also known as Christian Langalis. Welcome, Christian.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Good to have you here. All right, so you were CoinDesk's most influential person in blockchain in 2017. You told CoinDesk you held the sign up on a whim, not expecting it to go viral, and it did. As you reflect on your own virality, why do you think it resonated with so many people?
I would say Bitcoin is, the word is in the room. It would never be included on official terms, so it can only be inserted surreptitiously from the outside. In a way, it parallels the strategy of Bitcoin against, I guess, the institutional exclusion of essentially free market technologies.
Okay. You describe yourself as a Bitcoin maximalist. I wonder what happened. Can you explain in the ensuing aftermath after that event went viral? What happened after that?
I mean, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist in the sense that I think it has the greatest shot of any cryptocurrency to actually succeed in breaking the institutional barrier to access of all of these whatever you would call them, decentralized technologies. Of course, it's not a fait accompli. there has to be, active work, and that's why I'm here with Urbit to try to bolster Bitcoin's opportunity to actually, break through this institutional barrier.
So I'll get to Urbit in a second. I just kind of want to reflect on, that moment in time. You collected 7 Bitcoin after posting your Bitcoin address. That's worth almost $300,000 today. What did you do with the money?
That's private, but thank you to all who donated. It has gone to good use, I assure you.
It's gone to good use. All right. So you originally kept yourself pseudonymous. Why did you decide to reveal your name after some time went by?
Well, I guess you have to face docs once in a while. It's hard to operate without doing so. Even in this world of the pseudo anonymous realm, the pseudo anonymous economy, we're not quite there yet. Urbit, of course, is a large step in that direction, but some people have to surrender to the face docs.
Right. So you're very very concerned about privacy, and I understand you're working on a project called Urbit, as you mentioned. So how does that fit together with your Urbit? How does that fit together with your interest in Bitcoin?
Right. So Urbit is a project that's designed and developed by a company that I now work for called Talon. It essentially makes it radically simple for an individual to operate their own personal server. So Bitcoin, of course, is a decentralized server for maintaining a list of monetary balances that's owned by different people. So it's a server for money, but it doesn't really offer any solution for people beyond the bare monetary device. So if we are to complete some sort of system of decentralized finance or undesignated capital, undesignated markets, we need far more digital infrastructure because in the absence of decentralized alternatives, the Coinbases and the Cash Apps of the world would be all too happy to turn Bitcoin into a walled garden.
Yeah, so you're basically reinventing the internet here. You want to get off of all.
I haven't invented anything. All credit goes to the engineers who have pioneered Urbit. Yes, but
Urbit
I
intends
I
to basically reinvent the internet.
I at least had the insight to I guess recognize potential to benefit Bitcoin. I'll put it that way. So
you want a decentralized internet, meaning you want people to have control over their identities. It's too centralized right now under big mega companies like Facebook, like Google, etc. And I wonder, though, a lot of the benefits of Facebook, of a Google, is that they have great services. And so how do you compete with that? And as a trade-off, you have to give your data. But can Urbit compete with that in the sense of offering the same functionality and user experience? How is it at that level right now?
Of course. Well, first, let me push back on the proposition that they're great products. I don't know of too many people that are truly gleeful about the state of Twitter or the state of Facebook or the state of the Web2 megacorp. Most people want out, I think. And as to how Urbit can compete with them, Urbit is a system, as I mentioned, that erects a personal server for one. And so as people download Urbit, install Urbit, run Urbit, the system can scale linearly. There will never be the need for a large centralized server running somewhere that tries to directly compete with Google or Facebook or AWS, etc. It's simply it already has the format that could surreptitiously just through the minority rule dynamic take over eventually. So I mean, the same is true of Bitcoin in the banking system. There does not need to be some grand coup at any point. It's a slow process driven by free choice of people to exit the megacorp server farms.
And how big would you say the community is now?
I mean, there's thousands of people running on the Urbit network today. So if you'd like to join us, we wish you would. And you can go to urbit.org for information on how to get up and running. I will say, with regard to Bitcoin, we are now monetizing the entire Urbit operating system with Bitcoin as its monetary primitive. So in 2 weeks, we will be releasing our Bitcoin wallet and all of Urbit's social applications, and future applications will have Bitcoin tied in to be deployable as a monetary primitive.
All right. Well, Christian, good luck with your project, and I hope you achieve what your goal, your very ambitious goal, is forward. All right. That was Christian Langalis, the Bitcoin sign guy. That's it for All About Bitcoin. I'm your host, Christine Lee. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in New York for First Mover, your first look at the day's global crypto news headlines. Crypto Community is next at 5 p.m. You're watching CoinDesk TV.